I've been shot in other arenas. This is not the only one. So, but again, I want to welcome all of you here at our town hall meeting. It's a pleasure for me to give you a little bit of the history. I've been involved with SAISSA since '84, before it was SAISSA, and I've been here since '43. That's not 1843. Norm, I saw you going to 18, but it's 1943. My family moved here when I was 6 months old. We lived at the north end of the island. We lost 2 houses in incident storms. One of them we were still in at the time when the storm came. So I've had some experience over the years here with this. In fact, Charles Frazier got me to move over here when he bought the island, and I've been working with him and the plantation for those many years. So we've certainly been involved in trying to save Amelia Island. And SAISSA, it's about people. It's about people like you, your neighbors, and it really is a tribute to a lot of people besides me that caused this to happen. In the early days, there was a guy named Fran Wright who was a naval architect from Annapolis. He also started the Fernandina Arts Collaborative downtown. He was a great artist. His genre was watercolors and chalk, and he did magnificent work. I accused him of being too narrow-minded, though, because if you only design navals, you can't be much of a person. But anyway, we got through that. He started the collaborative with all the people that worked, that lived along the beach, all the different condominium associations, and he got kind of the thing started. And then the AIPCA was very active, very involved in how we got everything done. There was a fellow named Dan Bierman, who was the AIPCA fellow in charge of beaches. And I can remember back in the 80s, whenever we were about to lose the beach club, it was on a precipice, about to wash away, and we got in a fellow named Perry Brune, who came in from Gainesville. He was a professor there, and he gave us a permit. His permit, he took a legal pad and drew one line this way, one line that way, wrote 3-1 on it, and I took that to Tallahassee and got a permit to put bulldozers on the beach to push sand up to save the beach club. Dan Bierman was on we had to truck in sand for a period of time there too, and so Dan was out there in sub-freezing temperatures with a stocking cap on, checking in. There's some 90 trucks of sand we had to bring in to save this island. We had issues over the years, many issues. Before SAISSA, we were about to lose Windsong in '92, and Windsong was on a precipice 17 feet from the beach, 17 feet up in the air, and there was a cliff. And we were putting sheet pilings out there in the middle of the night, and a fellow named Mike Luke was head of that association, and they didn't have a chance to meet to get things done, to get it organized. So he and Jack Heelan, then the general manager for the plantation, Mike Luke says, "I'll pay for it, get it done." And Jack Heelan said, "No, you won't, I'll pay for it." And I said, "Y'all quit arguing. Both of you will pay for it, let's get it done." So sheet piling's still there in front of Windsong, and they're some 17 feet tall. You would not know that when you're there now. Over time, too, we had to put up sandbags. These were called geotubes. They were 8 inches in diameter, and we made a deal with the state. If we put them in, then we'll take them out whenever we do the renourishment. Well, they compromised with us later, and we only had to take out half of them after we did the renourishment. So many of those are still in the ground. A fellow like Morgan Roseborough, who was a retired brigadier general, he was also the AIPCA's fellow in charge of beaches, and we had a problem with the Corps. I was able to negotiate on behalf of Governor Graham a memorandum of understanding with the Navy that whenever they're dredging for Kings Bay, that they would put that sand on the north end of Amelia Island, and if we got the state to pay half the cost, we would move it down and utilize it in front of the plantation all the way down the whole island and do that. Well, we had a little problem because the Corps guys that were supposed to be doing all this, they went on vacation, 2 of them, and the sand never got to Amelia Island. It got to where Long Point is now, but that's as far as it got. So, and I'm sorry, to Ocean Club. It got to where the Ocean Club is. So that's And the reason it didn't is because nobody was watching the store. They were not surveying the beach, and these two Corps guys let the dredger get the benefit of taking his word for what he was doing, and he wasn't doing it. So Morgan Roseberry, I went to Washington, and the ombudsman for the Department of the Army, he got those guys fired for what they did. So Morgan was a great help to us. A thing called the Nassau County Soil Conservation Board, they sponsored us on several things that we did to get money from the legislature. They also were the sponsor of our first renourishment effort, because Nassau County wouldn't do it because they were mad at us because we got driving off the beach. So they wouldn't be our sponsor. In fact, we wanted to get a D9 here. Ron Kohler remembers this. They wouldn't bring us a D9 to put sand up to save buildings. They charge us rent. So that's what we did. And so along came a guy named Tom Ford, who was a modestly shaped fellow, weighed 550 pounds, from Callahan. And he got the Nassau County Soil and Conservation Board to sponsor our project. And after a while, the county commission caught on, and they became jealous because these people were actually helping us, and they knew they should have been doing it. So that was part of our early history with things like that going on. Ed McCabe was president of the AIPCA. Then he became president of SAISSA. The first president was Jack Heelan. Jack Heelan is one of the heroes, really, of saving the beach here. When he was the manager, he devoted all the resources that he could put at his hand on behalf of the Mee Island Company to help save the beach. So he was a large part of that. There are many people over the years. Mary Brannon, who was first president of the AIPCA, first woman president, she became our president and did a great job after Ed McCabe. And then after her, we had Bob Martin. And now we have this wonderful fellow over here who missed the meeting, and he got elected chairman. So we've really appreciated having Drew Wallace. So SAISSA is all about people. It's all about you, your neighbors, your predecessors. Those are the people that made this a success. And it's been a remarkable success. After the first renourishment, we got a statewide award for being the most outstanding project in Florida. And now we are the model, not just in Florida, but in other states. People come and want to know, how'd you do this? How'd it work? Because it has a remarkable, remarkable success because of people like you, and I often say in spite of people like me. So it's worked out very, very well. We just want to close a minute, and we'll want to read a poem to you. Poetry is a terrible habit of mine. When I'm nervous or upset, if you're going to have to speak somewhere, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to say or do, I write a poem. And I've done that for jury closings. I've done it to testify on behalf of the arts in Washington. And that's the thing I do. I don't know why I do it, but I do it. And not necessarily it's any good, but I do it. And so whenever we were about to trying to sell the South End Park to the state of Florida, and the governor then, of course, was Bob Graham, and we were on the agenda to be sold. Well, there was a Speaker of the House friend of mine named Herb Morgan who shows up, and he tells me, buddy, I just want you to know I'm going to tell them to shut down this program and not buy the south end of Amelia Island for $8 million because this is a waste of public money to save beaches. And so he got to speak ahead of me because he's the Speaker of the House. So I'm sitting there, what am I going to say to that? That's going to be really interesting. And he was going to tell them that as Speaker of the House, he's going to cut off all the money for beach renourishment, for preserving beaches, because he's from Tallahassee, Florida. They don't have any beaches in Tallahassee. So he was going to speak ahead of me. And so I'm sitting there scribbling out on a piece of paper, and this is what I wrote, and if you don't mind, I'll share it with you. And this is about the south end of Amelia Island, or saving the south end of Amelia Island. What a joy, and indeed a pleasure, to seize the moment to save the treasure. For it's not what rogues and pirates have left, but it was Florida that God blessed. All who stand before you today applaud each of you and say, destiny begins and begs that we do not sway. Save our coast, please, we pray. Amelia Island is the diamond in Florida's crown. its beauties indescribable, but richly abound. The beaches, wildlife, estuaries, such a majestic view. If somehow you can save our water so blue, our children's children will whisper, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I thank you for listening to me. Okay. Okay.
Let me go first. They've put up an obstacle course on the back of this stage for these old timers to get through, and I'm one of those. I forgot to introduce myself. Actually, I'm Drew Wallace. I did forget to say that before I introduced Buddy. I know a lot of you, and that's probably why I kind of slipped my mind thinking that you knew who the heck I really was. But anyway, before we get into the meat of this, I want to introduce some people that have devoted a lot of time and energy to get where we are with SAISSA so far this year. First of all, I want to introduce Al Broder. Al is a vice president and principal of Olson Associates, a very leading top-grade coastal engineering firm, and has been involved with the SAISSA project since, I believe, 2011, which was our last renourishment. And Al's been involved at that time, and he comes to all our board meetings and talks to us a lot about stuff that we really don't understand. And then we have to ask him lots of stupid questions because he is an engineer. He's very detail-oriented. So you're going to hear from Al later, and he's got some really interesting things. They've done some innovative approaches to this renourishment and the search for sand. Sand is a rare commodity in the world today, and Al has devised a way to perhaps have a continuous flow of sand for future renourishment. So please pay attention when he gets to that particular part of his talk. We also have Bill Moore. Now, I know everybody knows Bill. Bill's been here, I can't again say forever, but for a long, long time, certainly involved with SAISSA from day one, 93, probably was on the beach pushing sand up the Windsong back in those days. But Bill knows it's beyond everything that there even is a need to know as it relates to SAISSA. He is our project manager. He comes to all our meetings. We operate under the sunshine laws of the state of Florida, so I can't call Peter Kelly and ask him a question and talk about a subject because there's two of us involved in perhaps obtaining information regarding making a decision. So what we have to do is that I have to call Bill and say, Bill, Peter, by the way, is the vice president. Bill, please talk to Peter and tell him that I need to know and what does he think. So we go through Bill because we do not want to violate, and we try very hard not to violate the Florida sunshine laws. But again, that's just one thing that Bill does, is act kind of like a conduit for all the questions that we have. Okay, so that's Bill. We have Al. We've heard from Buddy. Now we have the board. I'm just going to start right here because this is the way the board is. We have Kelly Allen, who's an AIPCA representative. Wait, maybe I could do this. Let me see if this works. That's our topics. We kind of know what our topics are. We don't have to go through that. We're going to talk about the beach. Purpose. Actually, that is important. I was going to skip over that, but that is important because there may be some people think that we do something other than that. This is it. This is all we do. And we do this to protect the market value of your houses and your condos and your vacant lots. That's what we do. We protect, preserve, and restore the beach. Okay. So some of you have been to all these meetings before. You've seen that chart. But now we're going to put some people in the little boxes. So, and again, the numbers, as I had mentioned previously, relate to the number, like trustees 11, that's the total. AIPCA 7, that relates to the beach frontage square distance of sand in front of the AIPCA properties. Riverstone has one, Sanctuary has one, et cetera, et cetera. So we don't have everybody here from the board, but for what we do, we have Kelly Allen, who is the Omni representative and an AIPCA representative. We have Mary Axtell. You could stand. So that everybody knows who you are, because these are the people you can ask questions to also, because they're very involved. Mary is in charge of our communications committee. She's the one that put together that package that you received in the mail and has done many, many other things. If you haven't received it in the mail, talk to Mary and she'll make sure you get one. Okay. And then we have, well, we'll skip that chair. And then we have George Detanowski, who's an AIPCA member. And then we have Peter Kelly, who's, by the way, George is our secretary. Peter Kelly is our vice president, AIPCA representative. And Kendall, the retreat representative. And we have Jim Raycraft, which is an AIPCA representative. So those are the board members that we have. We have Norm Ledwig. Norm is a member of the Communications Committee. As I said, we do lots of work on the Communications Committee, and we need outside help. And Norm has been very, very involved and very appreciative of his services over the last 6 months as we work towards getting all this kind of stuff out to you. So those are our board members. The other people are just not here, but they are real people. There's one thing that, this is the organization of SAISSA, but again, it's important to remember that we are the project manager for the restoration and renourishment of the beach for the county. We prepare the budget, and the county approves the budget. We adhere to all the county's rules and regulations and ordinances as it relates to bidding for vendors and sunshine laws that I talked about. So we are the project manager for SAISSA's activities for the county. It's the county that makes all the final decisions. They're the ones that gets the bid, the vendor bid. When we start talking later about going out for bid, they're the ones that do that. They're the ones that do the financing bid. So again, it's important to realize that we're kind of like the project manager for this project. Okay. Okay, that's actually his slide. So I think I'm done for now, which obviously there wasn't a lot to what I just said.